Let me ask you something nobody dares to ask out loud. What if the biggest financial mistake of your life isn't the risk you took, but the one you never took? Think about that for a second. Because right now, somewhere in your mind, there's an idea, a decision you've been postponing for months, maybe years, a business you almost started, an investment you almost made, a conversation about money you never had with yourself, and every single day you don't move, that idea gets quieter. The window gets smaller, and you tell yourself the same thing. It's too risky. But here's what no one tells you. Not deciding is also a decision, and it carries a cost, a massive, silent, compounding cost. Today we're going to talk about the two types of loss that shape every financial life. One is loud, one is invisible, and most people only fear the wrong one. Meet Daniel. Daniel is 34, smart guy, works a stable job, has some savings. For 3 years, he's been watching a market opportunity grow in front of his eyes. He researches it obsessively. He knows the numbers. He understands the risk. And every Monday morning he wakes up and tells himself, next month, I'll be ready. Next month becomes next year. The opportunity doesn't wait. Someone else takes it. Daniel doesn't lose any money that day. His bank account stays exactly the same. But something else happens, something his bank statement will never show. He loses 3 years of compounding. He loses the confidence that comes from acting despite fear. He loses the version of himself that would have existed on the other side of that decision. That loss has no line item, no receipt, no alert on your phone, but it is the most expensive loss in the world. There are two types of financial pain. The first is the pain of loss. You risk something, it doesn't work, you lose money. It's concrete, it's measurable, it stings immediately. The second is the pain of regret. You don't risk anything, nothing happens. But years later, you sit with the quiet devastation of what if. Research in behavioral economics shows something striking. Humans feel the pain of a loss roughly twice as intensely as the pleasure of an equivalent gain. This is called loss aversion, and your brain is wired this way for survival. But here's the problem. This system was built for a world of physical threats, lions, famine, war. It was not built for financial decisions in the modern world. Your brain treats a $10,000 investment loss the same way it treats physical danger. It activates the same alarm system. It floods you with cortisol. It screams at you to stop, to retreat, to stay safe, and you obey. But who protects you from the lion of long-term inaction? Nobody. Because that lion doesn't roar. It just silently devours your future, one comfortable decision at a time. Here's the thing about regret that most people don't understand. Regret doesn't come from failing. Regret comes from not trying. Studies on deathbed reflections, research done with people in their final years, consistently show one pattern. People don't say, I wish I hadn't tried that. They say, I wish I had tried more. They don't mourn their failures. They mourn their hesitations. The entrepreneur who built a business and lost everything doesn't die wishing he had played it safe. He dies with the dignity of someone who engaged fully with life. The person who never tried, who kept their money safe and their ambitions smaller, often carries a different kind of weight. Not the weight of loss, the weight of unlived potential. This is the cruelest kind of poverty. Not the poverty of an empty account, the poverty of an unused life. Now, I want to be very clear about something. This is not a call to recklessness. This is not permission to throw your savings into speculation or follow every shiny opportunity that crosses your feed. Intelligent risk is not the absence of caution. It is caution in service of movement. There is a version of risk that destroys wealth. Impulsive, emotional, ego-driven bets made to impress others or escape present discomfort. That kind of risk is not courage. It's avoidance dressed up as boldness. But then there's the other kind of risk. Calculated, prepared, aligned with deep self-knowledge. The kind where you've done your research. You understand your numbers. You've built a foundation. You know what you're betting and why. And you've accepted that the outcome cannot be fully controlled. But the decision is yours. That second kind of risk is not gambling. It is the fundamental act of building anything real. Every business ever built began with someone deciding the risk of trying was smaller than the risk of never knowing. So why don't more people take that step? Because fear is not just emotional, fear is structural. It lives in the stories you were told about money before you could reason about money. Think about what you heard growing up. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Money doesn't grow on trees. Only lucky people get rich. It's dangerous to want too much. These weren't malicious lessons. They were survival messages from people who lived through real scarcity. But those messages calcified into beliefs, and those beliefs became the invisible walls of your financial life. You inherited a framework that was designed to protect, and it worked for a different era, a different economy, a different version of what was possible. But you are not your parents' era. You are not your grandparents' economy. You are standing in a world where information is free, capital is accessible, and the only thing standing between most people and a fundamentally different financial life is the willingness to act in uncertainty. And yet the inherited fear persists, not because it's rational, because it's deeply wired. This is the real work of financial transformation, not spreadsheets, not investment strategies. The deeper work, dismantling the architecture of fear that makes inaction feel like wisdom. Let me give you a framework. There are 3 zones of financial decision-making. The first zone is the comfort zone. Nothing changes here. Your income stays predictable. Your expenses stay familiar. Your regret grows silently. This zone feels safe. It is the most dangerous place to live permanently. The second zone is the panic zone. This is recklessness. No preparation, no understanding, pure emotional impulse. This zone produces the real financial catastrophes, the ones that take years to recover from. Stay out of this zone. The third zone, the only zone where wealth is actually built, is the growth zone. This is where calculated risk lives, where you take steps that are uncomfortable but not catastrophic, where you stretch beyond what's familiar without abandoning what's essential. The growth zone is where Daniel should have been 3 years ago. The growth zone is where every meaningful financial transformation begins. And the only way to find your growth zone is to stop asking, "What if I lose?" and start asking a different question entirely. The question is not, "What if this fails?" The right question is, "Who will I be if I never try?" Because that person, the one who chose safety over expansion, fear over growth, comfort over possibility, that person exists. They are a future version of you, and that person will have a story to tell. Make sure it's a story worth telling, not the story of someone who protected what they had at the cost of everything they could have built. The story of someone who understood that risk, faced with clarity and preparation, is not the enemy of wealth. It is the beginning of it. Here's what I want you to do before this video ends. Think of one financial decision you've been postponing. Just one. Not the biggest one, not the most complicated one, the one that comes to mind first. Now ask yourself honestly, am I not taking this step because I've genuinely assessed the risk, or because I'm afraid? If it's fear, real fear, not rational caution, then what you're protecting isn't your money. You're protecting your comfort, and comfort, when chosen over growth, is the most expensive thing you will ever buy. The regret bill comes later, and it always comes due. If this landed somewhere real for you, like it, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe. Because every week we go deeper into the psychology of money, wealth, and the decisions that actually determine your financial life. See you in the next one.